The morning air carried a heaviness that didn't belong to a child. 9-year-old Mara Lee stood in front of the cracked mirror in her small, dimly lit bedroom, tracing the purple bruise spreading across her left eye. It wasn't the first time she'd seen it, the mark of someone else's anger, but it felt different today. She wasn't sad anymore. She was just tired. Behind her, a backpack leaned against the wall, patched and frayed, the only thing she truly owned. And today, she had a plan. She wasn't going to cry at school again. She wasn't going to pretend she tripped. She was going to find help, real help. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and standing up for those who can't fight back, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Your support helps us spread stories that remind the world compassion still exists. Mara walked to school with her head down, every step heavier than the last. Her school uniform hung loose on her thin frame, and her sneakers were torn at the soles. Behind her black eye was a story no one cared to ask about, a mother lost to addiction, a father she'd never known, and a boyfriend who treated her like a punching bag. Teachers noticed but said nothing. Social services will look into it, they'd said. But nothing changed. Every night, she'd stare at the ceiling, wishing someone, anyone, would care enough to stop it. That day during lunch, Mara sat alone at the corner of the playground. The laughter of other children stung worse than her bruises. A group of older girls whispered as they passed, pointing at her face. She probably deserved it, one of them muttered. Mara pressed her sleeve against her eye and pretended she didn't hear. That's when a low rumble broke through the distant hum of the town, the sound of motorcycles echoing from the road beyond the schoolyard fence. She lifted her head, her eyes narrowing at the sight of a line of chrome and black leather rolling past. They were loud, unapologetic, and unafraid, everything she wasn't. Later that afternoon, when school let out, Mara walked past the same road. The motorcycles were parked outside a small diner, a local stop for bikers passing through. She hesitated at the corner, her heart racing. She didn't know what she was doing, only that something inside her pushed her forward. The bell above the diner door jingled as she stepped in, the smell of oil, coffee, and smoke filling the air. Heads turned. 20 or so men in leather vests glanced up, tattoos winding down their arms, patches that read Hell's Angels stitched in red. For a moment, silence. Then one of them, a large man with graying hair and kind eyes, spoke. "Hey, sweetheart, you lost." Mara didn't answer. She stood trembling, clutching her backpack straps. Then, in a voice so small it almost broke, she said, "Can one of you be my dad? Please." The diner went quiet. A few of the bikers exchanged looks, some confused, some shocked. The old man set his coffee down and knelt beside her. That's when he noticed the bruise. His expression changed. "Who did this to you?" he asked softly. Mara's lips quivered, but she didn't speak. She didn't have to. The silence told them everything. Within minutes, they had her sitting at a booth, wrapped in a blanket one of them found in a saddlebag. She told them bits and pieces, her mother's boyfriend, the yelling, the beatings, how no one at school ever believed her. They listened, all 27 of them, their tough exteriors softening with each word. They weren't saints. They'd all made mistakes. But none of them could stomach the thought of a child growing up believing she was alone. That night, they didn't ride off. They called child protection, filed a report, and ensured Mara wouldn't go back to that house. The next morning, word had spread, a little girl had walked into a biker diner and changed 27 hardened men. But what no one expected came the next day. At 8:15 a.m., as students filed into East Hollow Elementary, the distant roar of engines rolled over the quiet street. Teachers peered out the windows, parents gasped, and children pressed their faces against the glass. One by one, 27 Hell's Angels pulled up to the school gates, their jackets gleaming in the sun. The leader, the same man from the diner, stepped forward, holding Mara's backpack. When she saw them through the classroom window, she froze. Her heart thudded against her ribs. For the first time, someone had shown up for her. They didn't go inside. They didn't need to. Their message was clear. They stood there, silent, unmoving, like a wall between her and everything that had ever hurt her. The principal came running out, flustered, asking what they were doing. The leader smiled and said simply, "We're making sure she knows she's not alone anymore." That moment changed Mara forever. News of what happened spread like wildfire. Reporters arrived, stories were written, and people debated whether bikers should be at a school. But to Mara, none of that mattered. For once, she wasn't invisible. For once, she was safe. That night, she was placed with a foster family recommended by one of the bikers, a family who had lost a daughter years ago and were eager to help another child heal. Years later, Mara would say that day was when her life began. She grew up, went to college, and started a non-profit organization helping abused children find their voices. But she never forgot those 27 men. Every year, she'd receive a postcard from the leader, signed, "Ride Safe, Little Angel." If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner, because small acts of courage can spark the biggest waves of change. Before we end, tell us in the comments, what would you have done if a child like Mara asked for your help?